Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Stewart Wiggins. He's with Induna Advisors, where he is working as a fractional chief operating officer. His goal is to bring resources together to help you scale your business. I have Gary Fredericks. He is the CEO of On Point Partners, where he has been working for 15 years. They provide back office services for small businesses. And I have Dr. Wayne Buckhanan. He is a geek who loves people and teaching. He is a trainer working with human development professionals. The question that I have for you today is being contactless making us care less about each other? Gary, what are your thoughts?
I think that being contactless, you have an opportunity sometimes to just be who you want to be and not necessarily who you are. And I think the personal contact kind of puts us all in check. And I think that we spend more time trying to figure out who we're going to be online or on our emails and text messages than worrying about the other person. So I think that's a problem. Hopefully society will start to remedy that. We'll go back to the way things were, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting feedback from people that they've forgotten how to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I talk to people, all the time because I do these, and that is one thing that people come and do quick hits. But people are starting to say, like, I don't know how to talk to people anymore.
Yeah.
Wayne, what do you think?
Well, I'm just thinking that for many, many years, my core support network has been in the household or online at a distance. I mean, a number of the people that are closest to me, I've never met in person. So it can be done. And maybe it's neurodivergence, maybe it's being a geek and willing to step into that role and play through the technology. But I actually find that even when we're contactless, I can send off that text message that says, hey, I was thinking of you. And it's much more convenient than, oh, did I happen to manage to be in the same physical space as someone else? So I don't know that, for me at least, contactless has actually made me care less. I think it's made it a more intentional action in some ways.
Stewart, what's been your experience?
As you know, I'm going to take a different slant at it, but I really think that it depends on who you are at a baseline as a person. If you're more empathetic in your activities day to day, then you miss that ability to be in contact with someone. And that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means that, you can deal and be successful without having to contact people. But this is the picture I'd like to paint for you is, in my experience, I always like the ability to be able to walk over to somebody's office and sit down and talk to them. And even though it might not be about business, you learn about them through those conversations. If there's anything about remote operating is that we like that small talk. Now I will say this, in this environment, it's different because we always have little sessions before and after where we get to know each other. But I had a one-on-one with a participant today. And we had done a couple of quick hits today. And I'll be honest with you, I really got to know her just because of that. And so I personally like the ability to be able to talk to somebody. So to answer your question, me personally, it doesn't mean that I care for them less. It's just that I get to understand them more by being in the same space with them.
So our local coffee shop recently put in self-checkout kiosks. And they're super convenient. If all I'm getting is coffee, it's really easy. I just do my self-serve coffee. I go check out, no problem. But what I've noticed is that the cashier who works there, who has been checking us out for years, like, I know her name is Deb. She wears a little name tag. I know she has a hip problem. And I used to say to her, how's your hip? How you doing? So I don't care any less, but I have less of an opportunity to express that care because I'm not, like, I see her and I wave, and I'm thinking now maybe I should just go ahead and check out with her, even though it's faster to go through the self-checkout.
Yeah, and to add on to what Stewart was saying, I used to teach a class at college for management in the business school, and it was called Management by Walking Around. And I used to do that all the time. I just walk around, plop myself down at somebody's desk. It didn't matter whether they were direct report or 3 levels down or 3 levels up. I just, so how you doing? ask a few questions about the family. How are things here? Is there anything we can do to help you with your job? You get all kinds of information in impromptu sessions, and you start to have that kind of relationship where if you're empathetic, it's important to have those kind of thoughts. Right now, when I can't see people, in person, it's like my world has been shrunk down to my family, which is not a bad thing, but I don't get the same opportunity to do my management by walking around style. It's kind of clumsy when you're trying to do it on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have a different experience. I'm willing to just send a message, say, hey, how are things today? What's going on in your world? I think that there's definitely a habit aspect of it that, yeah, if I was in person, it would have been much easier to go step in and say, hey, what's going on? But it's just a different mode for me. So I'm, whatever the particular mode of contact for that individual, whatever their preferred mode is, sure, I'll hop on there and send a message.
Oh, that's an interesting point, Wayne.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Stewart.
I was just going to say, let me pitch it like this. I think that if you do it remotely, it's a deliberate conversation. You deliberately have decided that you want to reach out to someone. But if you're in the same space, then you can do that management by walking around. Here's the advantage, I think. If your organization is in a situation where you have to quickly respond, or you're in a brainstorming session, or you're facing a stress test, not necessarily a physical test, but something's going on that requires everybody to really hyper-focus, you understand who those people are, and they may respond to you more differently because they know who you are and you know who they are because you've built the relationship. Robyn, we talk almost weekly on Quick Hits, but very rarely have we just picked up the phone to chat. If we were in the same space, I bet that we'd walk around to the office and I'd hear about your dog, or I'd get that recipe that you posted the other day that looks so good. But doing it remotely, you just don't get that.
True, but you have to be deliberate. So my whole life, my whole work life is here on this Zoom in this chair. Well, I mean, clients text me too, but you have to be deliberate about it. So I have to think, you know what? I like Wayne and I care about him. Let me send him a text. Or you know what? I know Gary likes astrophysics. I read this article. Let me send that to him. And Stewart, you want that recipe? You know what? Fine, I'll send you ingredients. It's not really a recipe, it's ingredients. But it's purposeful. It's not that accidental. And how many people have you ever worked with in the past who you thought they were your friends, but then you change jobs and you never hear from them anymore?
All the time.
So that's not friendship. I mean, is it care? Yes. But I feel like this makes me more deliberate about remembering, hey, I care about this person. Let me reach out. So I do think that it being contactless makes us care less if we're not deliberate.
And I wonder if you're not deliberate about your management by walking around. Is it just the same as, I don't know. It's just a different mode in my mind. And I see that there are people who are very comfortable with the in-person way of doing things because if nothing else, that's how they've done it. And so I don't know. I find it interesting that, we have 4 people and half of us really, really want the in-person and the other half are doing just fine online. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I love people in person too. Don't get me wrong. I'm a little bit of the queen of the extrovert.
It's not a bad thing though, that we all came down differently, but that doesn't mean that we're right or wrong. Right. Because each of us have figured out how to be successful in the mode that we're currently operating in. That doesn't mean that if we were in another type of mode, all face-to-face or all remote, that we couldn't be successful. But the question was, would you care less? Or do you care more? Well, I don't know these guys, but if I knew something happened to them, I would care just as much for them as if I saw them every day. It's just by meeting them and forming a relationship, I suddenly care.
Yeah. So I think the point that we're making, and I love that it's come to this, is that it can make you care less, but you can also care less about people if you are in contact with them. I think it's more about being human and being deliberate about walking around and talking to people or sending that text message or, not having the out of sight, out of mind kind of situation. And so I think that is the point that we've come to in this conversation. And I appreciate it because as much as I'm in contact with each of you via Zoom on a regular basis, I do care. So thank you so much. And I look forward to having another conversation with each of you very soon.